If you don't have like the data, you don't really, you cannot have the smart solutions. Data is key to making sense of what your situation looks like. Having access to the correct data is also really important in Africa.
You cannot improve what you cannot measure. So
Exactly.
data
Exactly.
is, is
Yes.
very important. Today on Solardey, we are doing something different. In many parts of Africa, when we talk about energy, we talk about assets, blackouts, diesel generators, we talk about survival. But here in Sweden and the Nordics, the conversation is different. The grid is stable, the infrastructure is digital, electricity is traded in real time. Producers don't just generate power, they optimize it, they arbitrage it, they forecast it, they monetize volatility. So today, we are zooming out. We're asking, what does a mature energy market really look like? What infrastructure makes advanced trading possible? And what is Nigeria and Africa missing out on because of energy poverty? Joining me is Pia from Energy Opticon, company working at the intersection of energy optimization, flexibility, and market intelligence. Let's get into it. Hello, Pia. Welcome to the Solardey podcast. It's great having
Hello,
you here.
Prosper. Thank you.
Before we dive into it, I would love for our listeners meeting you for the first time to know a little bit more about you, who you are, what you do, and how your journey into the energy tech began.
Yeah, so I started working in the energy business already in 2004. Yes, I'm that old. And I'm now the marketing manager and part owner of the company Energy Opticon, which is based in Lund in Sweden, south of Sweden. And our company is specialized on economic optimization of energy systems. So all sorts of traditional energy production systems, as well as renewables, and trading also on multiple markets.
Wow, that's amazing. I will do something different today because normally I just go with the flow.
Yeah,
But being that this is an interesting topic, I will read some questions I wrote down so that we
sounds
don't
good.
miss anything.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I get someone like you, I would like to be sure that we give our listeners values. So just let me check something in a bit. How would you describe Energy Opticon's core mission and impact in the energy industry today?
Yeah, so our core mission is to help energy companies to lower their production costs and their CO2 emissions. So a lot of our customers, they are mainly the energy utilities. They invest a lot in new energy resources such as renewables, since they have to phase out the fossil fuels. And we help them on this journey, basically, to future-proof their energy system so they can have a economic operation, both short-term for the daily and weekly operation of their energy system, and also long-term for the future scenarios. So that's our main value that we bring to the energy market. We also offer consultancy services for these companies who don't really know which direction they should choose, which type of renewables should they invest in, and how will those affect the energy system, and when will a return on investment be. So we can also help them with those type of questions.
This is quite impressive. And I was looking at the Energy Opticon's website and I saw that you've been in operation since 3 decades now, 30
Yeah,
years and
yeah,
going strong. What
correct.
is the secret? Because coming from entrepreneurship also, I
Yeah,
know how difficult it is to sustain a company from the
yeah.
startup stage to the scaling and to
Mm.
what it is now. What is the secret?
Yeah, so actually our company is a little bit different maybe because it's a family-owned company, and we decided to never have any external investors. We instead we were aiming towards sustainable growth. So we were not growing fast like many other companies did, but we were growing a little bit every year, and making sure that we had a um, a customer base that was growing instead of maybe focusing all our energy on big marketing investments. And so we took it bit by bit. And I think patience and I think also trust is the most important thing. Our customers, they trust us and they know that we always give them personal support, which is also quite valuable today when you often end up in a telephone line when you call the big companies. So I think the value of being a small company, but with a kind of technological pearl, I think that has been our main success in this business. And we were quite early also with optimization. I think we were the first optimization software on the market in Sweden.
So you had the early movers advantage also, and all
Yes,
these
exactly.
years in operation, accumulated data and information and
Yeah,
system
yeah,
optimizing. That's
yeah,
quite impressive. One of the
yeah.
things I picked from what you said about scaling at a sustainable rate,
Mm,
this is something I have been, with one of my companies back in the days.
mm,
I experienced an early success
yeah,
and somehow I scaled at a rate that wasn't
mm,
sustainable. I was in contracts and I started
yeah,
hiring people at a very
mm,
high rate here in Sweden. And
mm,
at the end of the day, it wasn't sustainable. So that's a lesson
exactly.
that I have learned.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also finding your blue ocean. That's also something that we talk a lot about. So you don't enter into a red ocean market where there are a lot of fish already swimming, so to say.
Ex-
It's like find
ex-
your niche and what makes you special and unique. What are your unique selling points in comparison to your competitors? And
Wow.
try to find that blue ocean. That's what we did.
I study energy engineering and installation. We
Mhm.
talk about the energy market. Could you briefly explain how the Swedish electricity market is structured today and what makes it capable of handling high renewable penetration?
Yeah. Okay. So the electricity market in Sweden is divided in four different zones. First of all, it's SC 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in the north, SC 1 and 2, we have a lot of hydropowers and renewables. And because we have large areas which are not populated, and we have a lot of mountains and water up there, which makes it quite favorable in terms of electricity production. It's not so densely populated. So and then we bid the electricity between those zones, basically. So and that hydropower that we have up there, it also offers flexibility. So when you can kind of bypass the hydropower turbines if the prices of electricity are already super low, for example. If it's a lot of sun and wind, then you might not want to. So that offers flexibility from the hydropower. And then we also have nuclear, which offers that stable base of electricity production. Yeah, so I think, and then we also have a very strong transmission grid. We also have these interconnections with the other neighboring countries like Finland, Norway, Denmark, Germany, Poland, and also Lithuania. We can easily share electricity in between our countries also. So on top of that, we have a quite advanced market design. On the Nord Pool market, we can trade day ahead, intraday, and then the Swedish transmission operator, Svenska Kraftnät, also offer these type of balancing and ancillary service markets where we can stabilize the grid through cogeneration, like combined heat and power plants, which are also very flexible. They can choose to produce more electricity or more heat at certain hours. So I would say that we have a very flexible and strong system in Sweden.
Wow. You
Mm.
actually touched some parts of my next question. That's the
Hmm.
trade in the energy market. For
Yes.
someone listening to us from Africa, let's say Nigeria specifically, because I don't want to overgeneralize, because I know
Mm.
our energy infrastructure is still in the development stage. Now
Yeah.
we talk about getting access to energy. We
Mm.
are not talking about this trading you mentioned in the North Pole
Mm.
and all that. But my
Mm.
question is this: could you explain what arbitrage trading means in energy market and how it's implemented?
Yes, arbitrage across. time is like very critical if you want the able electricity grid. For example, a typical Swedish energy company will start to make the plans for ancillary service markets, which are the balancing markets, and they have to respond very quickly. Let's say that the transmission system operator calls for the capacity that you have told them that, okay, this much capacity we are able to deliver if you need it during the day. If you then called on that capacity, you have to deliver it, and quite fast, maybe let's say within 15 minutes or so. So it has to be units that can quickly start. So that's the first part. And then you have to block that amount for the next trading that opens, which is the day ahead trading. And then you cannot block too much then on the balancing market, because then you don't have anything left for the day ahead trading, so to say. And then you make the plan for the day ahead trading. It could be block bids or traditional day ahead. And then if you're not really satisfied with the day ahead trading, you didn't earn so much money. You want to, of course, sell electricity when the prices are really favorable, and you want to buy when they are like really when it's a really high price, you want to buy. And no, sorry, the opposite. When the price is low, you want to buy, and when the price is high, you want to sell on the day ahead trading. And if that plan didn't really go as you wanted it to, then you can move into the intraday trading, which is like much where you can correct the day ahead trading basically. And then on top of that, you also have algo trading, which is basically an AI algorithm that can trade with very high intervals. So in that sense, there's a lot of money that these companies who have these fast responding units, they can make a lot of money out of this type of trading. So yeah, it could be electric boilers, heat pumps, it could be PV plants with batteries, etc.
I was having a conversation with an group of engineers in Nigeria. Yeah. And when I told them about this next level in the energy industry, which is the trading, the frequency regulation, peak shaving and all that, balancing, they were blown away, and they realized that being not able to like have a stable grid doesn't just affect manufacturing, but we are missing out on a whole industry. It's about time that we get this thing right. We have to find the right energy mix, the right infrastructure, and we have to leapfrog the legacy grid model and just solve this problem once and for all, so that we can also take part in trading and grow a whole lot of industry out of it. But my question is this: how does softwares like I think Optima 3 help businesses, energy businesses, make money, optimize their production, and increase profitability? How does it work?
You mean in terms of the African market or
Here in Sweden?
Yeah, so the thing is that the challenges are a little bit different from country to country. So in Sweden, we have challenges like very high fuel prices. We have most of our production is based on biomass, and since the war in Ukraine, our biomass prices have gone up incredibly high, which means that it's hard for us to produce district heating because we need a lot of heat in Sweden. It's a cold country. And that district heating has to be sold to the customer to a competitive price. But with so high fuel prices, it's a little bit difficult for us. And also another topic is the waste incineration. We also burn a lot of waste, which could be also favorable in African countries. But the European Union now is a little bit uncertain if waste is now considered a green fuel because it contains plastics, which are fossil-based, etc. So the profitability for the energy companies in Sweden is a little bit uncertain. So those are the challenges for us. Then you have Germany, who have a lot of natural gas and coal that they need to phase out. And these funding schemes that I think are also relevant in Africa, you have to apply for these funding schemes to invest in all these renewables that are required for the green energy transition. And I think that funding is a little bit unclear. How are we able to pay for all of these investments? That's what I'm saying. Like the challenges are a little bit different from each market, but what we can do in terms of optimization provider is we can always help the energy companies to lower their production costs, even in Africa, where the electricity sometimes, you know how they cut off different areas when the electricity is not enough. There you could have like local electricity load forecasts, so you can see that okay, we will have enough to cover these areas at these specific times, so you can plan much better. And then you can also optimize the power plant together with the renewables, so you know, okay, tomorrow is going to be very windy, so we will have this much of electricity, for example, or it's going to be very sunny. It's a lot of sun usually. So, but you have to have maybe invest in batteries to be able to use that electricity even during nighttime, etc. And those type of investments we can help to optimize, but also for the daily production. So you know that the electricity will be enough for all the different areas or not. And then you can schedule that cutoff and maybe tell people in time that, okay, between these hours, we will have to cut off the electricity. So there are a lot of things that you can do. Maybe get the clients will be happier because they kind of get a feeling that the energy companies understands their needs. They get a much better forecast so they can plan their lives around that. So I think the relationship between the energy company and the citizens would be much better if they had some type of digital tool to optimize their energy production.
It's quite interesting that you mentioned, the solutions for African markets, energy market. If you recall, I was in Nigeria last October, November, attending Nordic Nigeria Connect conference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One of the areas the Nordics are looking to partner with Nigeria is electricity, renewable energy, and technology, which your company falls exactly in that intersection between energy and tech. Wondering, are you open for opportunities in those markets? Is Energy Opticon open for opportunities?
Of course, we have actually already been down in West Africa to talk to energy producers there. It was a few years ago now, so I don't think the market was really ready for it. But I think now the digitalization has improved a lot in many African countries, so the market is more mature for these type of systems also. And also the share renewables are also growing, which means that they have much more flexibility to play with also, and maybe even trade across borders between each other. They might need help with that, financial settlement also with the trading between the countries to stabilize their electricity grid.
Wow, that's impressive. I will, yeah, I will remember that, because looking at the other markets and seeing what solutions they've developed that we can copy and adapt to our own local reality. So our major problem in Nigeria is the distribution. The distribution infrastructure is not up to date. It requires a lot of investment. But that's where I see that renewables can actually come in, and instead of national grid, which is important, don't get me wrong, but I
I
think
understand.
decentralization, we can actually leapfrog the whole process and just decentralize our
Exactly.
energy and have that mix of biogas with solar and possibly wind. And I feel that's where
Exactly.
optimization comes in to balance
Yeah.
the whole,
Yeah.
equation. Yeah.
You're completely right, especially in rural areas. These decentralized grids are really important. And of course, in a bigger city, it could be good to have a bigger provider. But even in small areas in the cities, there could be these decentralized solutions where they have solar panels on the roofs, maybe even batteries. Yeah, so I think the possibilities are endless. You just have to see where the funding should come from. And I'm sure that there are a lot of funding you can apply from, and from, for example, the World Bank and the European Union also. And then you might also need an optimization software who can prove to these funding sources how much exactly you will need. This is the capital that you have need for the specific units, and also what will the positive effects be on the energy system. So you can prove that and show kind of a plan. This is how it will look like, and return on investment will be at this specific time, more or less. So I think these type of long-term simulations are really important when you apply for funding, because then you can prove to them that we have thought this through. These type of units are the ones that we need, and it will cover this demand, etc.
Yeah. It's quite important that you are talking about funding.
Mm.
I think 2025 International Renewable Energy report on where the funding are going. Sub-Saharan Africa is still very low funding coming in. And when you speak to investors, they always talk about the risk when it comes to the return on investment.
Exactly.
And these are also one of the reasons why we have Solardey, because although there are risks, but the perceived risk is more than the actual risk on the ground. And I also see energy as a profitable business, especially for the sub-Saharan Africa. When it comes to renewable, the return on investment is massive, and the impact is massive also. I noticed that the Nordics have recognized sub-Saharan Africa as a market, as a business partner.
Yeah.
Talking about energy can sometimes sound abstract to people that are not engineers and
Exactly.
techy. How do you communicate to your potential clients?
Yeah, I mean, the clients are quite already, they know everything already because they are the energy companies usually. To other people, I think actually that the awareness of energy has increased a lot the recent years because of this massive explosion of renewables, and I think also the prices have been so high at certain hours and so low at certain hours that even the regular people, so to say, they have started to be more aware of actually where does their energy come from, how is it produced, and how can they actually why does it affect their energy bills. So it was more difficult a few years ago when I tried to tell my friends what I was doing. They would listen for a couple of minutes and they would just zoom out because it was so abstract to them. Yeah, but I think nowadays people are more aware of also climate changes and renewables, they want their energy to come from green sources, and that wasn't really the case. People would just wanted to open their tap and the hot water would come, and electricity, they didn't really care if they left the lights on. But nowadays people are much more aware, I would say.
Awesome. Sweden is gunning for net zero in 2045. Do you think that is a realistic goal, or are they being over optimistic? And what part do you think that renewables like solar and wind will play in that transition?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of solutions that will be required for this net zero targets. Of course, solar and wind is a part of that, and also, of course, battery storing energy is one of the hottest topics nowadays. And there are always also solar heating plants nowadays, solar thermal plants. Geothermal is another source of renewable. I think a big development on the Swedish market is that the heat pumps are exploding. So a lot of building owners, they install heat pumps in their buildings. Heat pumps can be used either for district cooling or district heating. And the cooling demand has been increasing a lot also due to climate changes probably. And so this also means that the energy company now has to collaborate with the building owners also as a part of the net zero target to use the flexibility in the buildings, because you should not forget that the buildings also offer flexibility for the energy company in terms of district heating or district cooling. You can use the inertia in the buildings to kind of push in a little bit more heat at certain hours or to lower the heat at certain hours, depending on what the needs for the energy companies. And that type of collaboration is important between the energy company and the building owners. Lower the fans in the buildings at certain critical hours if the electricity grid is under pressure, for example, or other electrical equipment can be lowered. So all parts of we talk about total optimization, because if you optimize every separate part individually, it easily becomes a sub-optimization. And now we see that new types of collaborations and sector couplings are increasing because we need to collaborate. Otherwise, we will never reach those targets. So it could be an electrical vehicle that also can feed into the grid. If it's a big part, for example, with trucks, electrical trucks, then they can stop loading at certain hours and then actually feed electricity into the grid also. There are these type of solutions. And another solution that is growing is energy communities. These type of decentralized solutions where buildings can share energy between each other. So there are so many new solutions that are growing now in order to reach these targets. It's amazing to see, actually. So it's not one or two solutions. It's going to be like a whole patchwork of solutions interconnected with each other. That's what the future will look like.
Wow, the future looks bright for Sweden. But one thing I picked here is energy community. I
Yeah,
think that's one thing that can easily be implemented in
exactly.
Nigeria,
Yeah.
where communities, estates come together,
Mm,
design their energy, do their energy audit, and then
exactly.
actually install maybe solar panels and some
Mm,
wind turbine or biogas plants, and then
mm,
optimize. I think that's
exactly.
the smart solution. Vehicle to grid.
Yes, exactly.
Could you touch a little bit more on that?
Yes, exactly. So we're talking about a lot about the electrification in Sweden. It's like a boom of all these type of electrical vehicles. Everybody is now driving a hybrid car or a purely electrical car, and even the transportation, like the mobility, is now being more and more electrified. And that is also then a source of flexibility for the electricity grid. If we can use all these, if we can use the cars that are connected to the grid and optimize that when the grid needs to be, when it's under pressure and you need to lower the pressure on the grid, you can actually optimize and automatically make sure that these vehicles stop charging, for example, and charge them when there's sufficient electricity. So I think this is something that is could also be interesting for the African market, maybe. That's maybe a question for you if the electrification is going forward also in these countries in Nigeria or West Africa, like other sub-Saharan countries. What do you say is the mobility sector? Is it going more towards electrical there also, as in Sweden?
Well, we've seen a lot of improvements, and
Yeah.
it's clear that the future of transportation, e-mobility, like that's the future, and it's not just for the environment; it's also smart because it's cheaper at the long
Mm,
run. You don't
mm,
need to buy fossil fuel every day for your
exactly.
vehicles. So it's not just economical, it's clean, it's noiseless. So we
Mm,
are adapting towards that. But one of the hindrances that we're facing with mass adaptation is the grid instability.
mm,
And that's where we are being creative now to build solar powered charging
yeah.
facility.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
And I'm
East
guessing,
Africa, sorry,
yeah?
just in
Yeah,
East
yeah, sure,
Africa,
sure.
I think they are
Mm,
a little bit ahead. Kenya, Ethiopia,
mm,
Nigeria is coming on, and that's actually the industry I'm also looking at in the future. First of all, we have to invest in the charging infrastructure. We're not talking about vehicle to grid yet
no,
because we don't even have that grid-tied installations. We don't feed back energy from our batteries and solar panels. It's
no.
off-grid installation, and
Yeah.
we use the national grid for backup.
Mm,
That's where we are still at the moment, but definitely
mm.
e-mobility is the way forward for Africa.
Yeah, exactly. Part of the problem with the batteries and electrification of vehicles is also that where do all the resources come from for the batteries and in the cars and for
Yeah,
the storage is also something that needs to be developed.
yeah.
Mm,
I think we have a very bright future. For instance, we have lithium.
Yes,
We have
exactly. Yes.
cobalt. We have
Yes.
all the rare earth minerals required. I see a bright future where we start refining all these rare earth minerals and start having a local
Exactly.
battery manufacturing in Nigeria and across Africa. And I
Yeah.
think that will change the whole market dynamic.
It will change a lot if you build up your own industry. I mean, and even the metering and data infrastructure is really important because if you don't have like the data, you don't really you cannot have these smart solutions. Data is key to making sense of what your situation looks like and making analysis out of it and preparing for future scenarios. So I think data, having access to the correct data is also really important in Africa.
Yeah. You cannot improve what you cannot measure. So
Exactly,
data
exactly.
is, is
Yes.
very important. And then
Yeah.
we see this surge in energy demand due to a massive adaptation of AI. How do you think a country like Sweden will cope with
Yeah,
data centers,
that's
energy demand due to AI adaptation?
Yeah, that's something that we discussed also with our customers. And we have, as I said, we need a lot of heat in Sweden due to the climate, the cold climate. So we have one customer that is actually co-financing together with a planned data center heat pump and connection to the district heating grid. So that the data center emits a lot of energy actually that you can recover. So this data center will install BESS batteries so they can store the electricity at certain hours and then also assist the grid at certain hours. And then they can also, through the heat pump, increase the temperatures from the data center and feed it into the district heating grid. So the energy company doesn't have to maybe start a peak boiler because they have then sufficient heat, a reliable heat source. The question there is how long will this data center be in operation? I mean, these contracts are usually require heavy funding. I mean, not funding, but investment. And it's a long maybe return on investment to if you build a heat pump and construct a new heat net grid, part of the grid. So I think those are the uncertainties that some companies deal with that um, they have to have these long-term contracts, but they don't know the future of this data hall, server hall, for example. So there are a lot, but once again, it's like this collaboration that you see that are popping up here and there. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it's always, we say that the electricity demand will increase exponentially. But then again, we have also seen there were big plans for the expansion of hydrogen, for example. Yes, but if those plans have been reduced to maybe like 10% of what was originally planned because it's hard to find the economy in it. So we see some projects starting up and a lot of pilots, but the big scale projects have been paused in several countries here in Europe. Hydrogen would require, the electrolyzers require a lot of electricity. Same thing with the green steel factories and battery factories that would require a lot of electricity. Those projects have also been kind of on pause, a little bit taking longer time. So I think the forecast was a little bit higher than what's actually the reality in the end.
It's always good to forecast for bigger demand and somehow start planning for that.
Of
It's quite
course.
interesting that you mentioned hydrogen, longer term
Mm,
storage. It has its advantage, but like you said, it has also challenges in making it viable.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's difficult to actually develop this big scale storage system. The only place I've seen it
Mm,
actually in California, but
mm-hmm.
is financed by the states as a part of their crisis ready.
Mm,
You know, the
yeah,
wildfire that when it starts, the electricity gets shut off and stuff.
exactly. Yeah.
They now build a massive hydrogen storage facility. So in that case, they are not measuring the return on investment on finances. They are just
No,
showing the impact.
exactly.
I think also that's where funding comes into play. Sometimes
Mm,
it doesn't have to be financially viable. It
mm,
just to be there. You cannot really measure the cost and the loss when
No,
we have total blackout in
that's
Sweden.
true. That's true. That's true.
But having battery, maybe hydrogen and other forms of storage that can balance the grid when we are facing some challenges, I think
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
have to look at the financing differently.
Yeah. And there are a lot of new technologies growing in the storage department also. So I'm sure that we will see many amazing new techniques that will pop up for longer storage hours as well.
In countries where energy access is still a challenge, what fundamental elements must be in place before energy trading markets can function effectively?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So first of all, you have to have a reliable physical grid.
Okay.
You have to have a stable frequency control. And then, of course, the sufficient transmission capacity. Otherwise, it will be difficult in all scenarios. So you need to be able to control the electricity in a good way. And to plan it, as I said before, you have to have electricity load forecast to see what are, and also of course the outdoor temperature forecast, the wind speed forecast, the solar forecasts to plan for the coming days. Like this is what it will look like tomorrow, and then of course in 2 days, in 3 days, it's always a little bit more uncertain. The forecast a little bit more off, but at least you can plan your production for the coming day. And if you have this stable and reliable physical grid, then there's a lot more playroom. And then you can also trade with other areas and stabilize the grid in that way.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that response.
Yeah.
I believe that our listeners will find this very valuable, most of this information. And finally, do you believe emerging markets have the opportunity to build more digital and decentralized systems from the start,
Mm.
potentially leapfrogging the legacy grid models?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and not only in these markets, even also in other European markets, you see these decentralized solutions emerging more and more because it's also about risk. What happens if, for example, now I take the worst possible scenario, if another country attacks your energy system, if you have a lot of decentralized solution, the stability and the resilience is much better. And so I think Africa, you have a lot of young people, educated people that can actually develop these type of smart solutions. Also, I think Africa is a big growing market in terms of energy, and I'm sure that we will see a lot of exciting development on the African market in the coming years.
I share that optimism with you, and that's why we're here, and that's why
Yeah.
we started the Solardey, not just to talk about energy solutions and challenges,
Mm,
but also to create a network of individuals with
mm,
competencies, like a resource pool where someone
yeah.
can actually meet partners for collaboration,
Yeah.
exchange ideas. So this is what we are building here in Solardey.
Exactly.
What are the key takeaways from eWorld Germany?
So the key takeaways from that conference was, yeah, of course, flexibility. Germany is under a lot of pressure to phase out fossil fuels. They have a new government. They I don't know if you know this, but they decided to shut down all their nuclear power. So they have a massive problem in terms of where should the electricity come from. So they're actually importing electricity from Sweden, which also means that Sweden the south of Sweden at some hours, we have to import electricity from Poland because we have exported so much electricity to Germany that we don't have enough. And then we import electricity, coal-based often electricity from Poland. So is this really a green and sustainable solution? It's not. So of course the heat transition planning is always a big topic at eWorld, how to phase out the fossil fuels like coal, lignite, and also the gas, having a reliable gas infrastructure and gas import, also with uncertainties with Russia. So they have they focused a lot on these flexibility solutions. They have a lot of solar power growing and batteries, and they also want to optimize these and use towards these fast frequency markets like AFRR, MFRR, and FCR markets. It was a lot of focus on trading on multiple markets. Also, a lot of focus on utilizing waste heat from nearby industries. So once again, these new collaborations with industries. So you look at the energy system in a more holistic perspective. Do we have any unused potential here? Can we use this? Can we use that? And of course, all types of electrical equipment like electrical boilers, heat pumps, etc., etc. Those type of solutions with fast responding units. So you're prepared for all type of scenarios in the future. So I think flexibility was the main topic at eWorld.
And that's a lot to take in. It's really amazing reading your LinkedIn post and following your journey as a marketing manager, and it's quite impressive. And I really appreciate you for coming here to share some of your knowledge with our listeners. I have learned a lot, and I believe my listeners will agree with me. Thank you so much. But before we let you go, who would you want to see next on our show?
Yes, exactly. So since you mentioned energy communities, maybe it would be nice to talk to, because this could be a topic that would be interesting for the African market with solar panels on the roof and sharing between buildings and so on. I think maybe Via Europa, also from Lund, a company from Lund,
Via Europa,
and Jonas Birgersson could be. Via Europa could be interesting, because I think for the African market, I think that could be an interesting player, perhaps.
Wow. Thank you so much. I will reach out to him. And,
Thank you.
And if you could help us also to reach out to him, that would be
Of course, I will share my contacts with you anytime. And thank you so much for inviting me to this show. It was really a pleasure for me to attend and to discuss these topics. I'm a real energy nerd, and I'm proud of it. So, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work and see how this network is expanding, and also to follow the development on the African market.
Thank you so much. We will keep you updated. And listeners out there,
thank you
for tuning in. Until next time, stay bold, keep shining, and solar power to the people.
This is Solardey, where every story